Today, we're diving into the big wedding question, first look or aisle reveal. Are you curious about what works best for you? Does tradition outweigh the benefits of a private, emotional moment before the ceremony? Join us as we break down the pros and cons to help you navigate this choice for your special day.
Listen now and discover the big wedding question, first look or aisle reveal. These are Wedding Insider secrets for a stress-free, fun, and memorable day. Our podcast helps engaged couples navigate wedding planning complexities while addressing family expectations. We'll guide you through the journey of creating the perfect wedding day without unnecessary stress. Get concise tips on budgeting, wedding party management, ceremony, reception planning, and more. Perfect for anyone planning a wedding, all in 30 minutes or less. Trust us, you don't want to miss this.
Welcome to Stress-Free Wedding Planning, the podcast that will transform your wedding planning journey from chaotic to enchanting. Sal and Sam bring over 80 years of combined wedding expertise and exclusive insider information to the table. If you're recently engaged, feeling the pressure of wedding planning, struggling with family expectations, but still dreaming of a joy-filled wedding, you've come to the right place. Get ready to unveil the best-kept wedding secrets, discover practical tips and strategies, and learn life-changing lessons for a stress-free wedding. Your unforgettable wedding day awaits. We're here to take you on a transformative journey of love, laughter, and memories. So don't miss out on the podcast that just might change your life. This is the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Podcast with Sal and Sam.
Learn more about our experience and journey to help you with stress-free wedding planning in the trailer or pilot of this podcast.
In today's edition, the big wedding question, first look or aisle reveal. But first, if you have a question or concern, go now to Facebook and join us on the Stress-Free Wedding Planning community and ask away. You can also join us on our YouTube channel. Just search for Stress-Free Wedding Planning Podcast. Subscribe and get it first.
Deciding on a first look before a wedding involves weighing pros and cons. A first look allows you a private, emotional moment and smoother timeline, but breaks tradition. Waiting until the ceremony brings anticipation, but might add stress and time constraints. Ultimately, the choice reflects your preferences for what you want for your wedding day experience.
On today's edition, the big wedding question, first look or aisle reveal, we're going to go through the pros and cons. And one of the first items that most couples consider having a first look is that private moment. Why is that important? Because the first look allows our couples, that's you, to share a private moment. It might be an intimate moment before the ceremony. You might go to a location that's around your house or around the venue or somewhere close to the venue. But it'll help calm the nerves and provide that special memory for just the two of you. That's the idea of the first look, is not only the private moment, but to get that connection between the two of you before you go back to the formalities of having a typical traditional ceremony where the groom or the partner is the first one to see you come down the aisle with your dress or whatever attire that you might have.
Yeah, I agree with that, Sam. It is a very emotional moment. I think it's more intense when it's together, but it's going to be the two of you against the world after that day. Why don't we start the day that way, where it's the two of you bonding together for that first look and taking some pictures and getting a little relaxed. Another thing is that emotional expression. With a first look, that's more freedom to express emotions without the pressure of a crowd. This can be heartfelt reactions and beautiful photos. Some people just can't handle all the eyes on them and let the emotions come out. It just doesn't feel right. It just feels so wrong. So this is why a first look could be a really good idea for you. It's just the two of you. You're experiencing what's happening. No one else, just you both.
Yes, Sal. The emotional expression is to get you to cry. That's the real reason the photographers want to do the first look, is to get that emotion. And without the crowd surrounding your other family members, I know sometimes the first look is done with the wedding party and the parents standing around. I do suggest to my clients, just the two of you and the photographer. But hey, however you feel more comfortable doing it. The next item that really checks the box for doing the first look is the flexibility with the timeline. If you have a first look, it can streamline everything else for your wedding day because you're going to see each other first, and then you'll be able to take any portraits or group pictures with your wedding party that are waiting. Obviously, build this time in the beginning of the ceremony so you're not rushing to go from the first look to directly to the ceremony. Build some time in there so that you can do that. And that will then save you time where traditionally you would go from the ceremony to take pictures, then to the cocktail hour. Now you can join in the cocktail hour. You can have a lot of fun doing that. That's a great recommendation.
I love the flexibility of the first look, without a doubt. Yeah, planning a couple hours before the ceremony. This gives enough time for just the two of you to see each other, take some pictures, and include parents and wedding party. And even if things run a little long, you've given yourself enough time to get all those pictures done so you can have that moment together before the ceremony, talk and reflect on what's happening for the day, and be much more calm when you go into the ceremony itself. We're always talking about stress-free, and everything that can bring less stress is important to us. So seeing each other beforehand can alleviate pre-ceremony jitters and making the actual walk down the aisle more relaxed and enjoyable. It's all about being able to enjoy your day. And I do truly believe the first look gives you that opportunity to get those shoulders down, not be so tense, and just enjoy what's happening in front of you. And as Sam says, once the ceremony is over, you might have to take a couple of family shots for the families that weren't there, but it's only a few minutes, and then you get to be part of the cocktail, eat, drink, and be merry with all your family and friends.
Another pro tip for the first look is you're going to spend much more time together. Imagine that on your wedding day. But remember, traditional wedding, you don't get together until during the ceremony. So with the first look, this is appealing to a lot of clients because you're able then to get together before the ceremony. You're all dressed up, you're all ready to go, and you get to spend a little time together, taking pictures and maybe doing the group shots as well. That's one of the real key elements to doing the first look, I think, is having more time together.
Oh, definitely. I know, Sam, I know you and Sue and both myself and Vanessa, there was no such thing as a first look back then. So everything was after the ceremony. And let me tell you, when we reflect back to our wedding, we wish that the first look existed back then because we've always been that couple that love being together and always feel more comfortable when we're in the same room together. So that would have been an ideal thing because it was very stressful to be apart from each other before the wedding started. Now we need to talk about those things called the cons. Personally, I don't think there is any cons because I love the first look, but let's put it out there for you. It's less traditional. Some couples feel that the first look takes away from the traditional moment of seeing each other for the first time at the altar. Now, I'm going to give you another look at that too, okay? When you are coming down the aisle and you're going to see each other for the very first time, as we've always said in this podcast, I'm also a wedding officiant, so I get to see what's going on. And I got to tell you, when I have someone next to me and their partner's coming down the aisle, they're usually lost. And I usually have to pull them over so, when the handoff happens to make things go, and they're just not looking. They're just in cloud nine. And the person coming down the aisle is usually looking at their feet to make sure they don't trip. So I really like the first look because you're going to get that intimate moment. And I don't think you really get that with the traditional walking down the aisle. And let's be honest too, walking down the aisle and seeing each other for the very first time is not the tradition anymore. I find that more weddings are doing the first look than doing it the old way. So we have a new tradition on the horizon here.
I like that. It is less traditional, but tradition goes where trends go. Sooner or later, the first look will be normal, and that will then be the tradition. Another con would be the altered anticipation, and that's the excitement and anticipation of seeing each other for the first time during the ceremony. So if you've had the first look before, you've already seen each other, the excitement's over, the anticipation is over, it kind of reduces the full impact of you seeing your spouse walking down the aisle. And that's fine. Tradition says, that's the first time you're supposed to see your bride walking down the aisle. Well, you don't have to. You can just do a first look too.
Something else that they talk about is the earlier start time, because you have to accommodate for the first look. You're usually going a couple hours before the ceremony. And when you do that, now you have to change a lot of things for your timeline: hair and makeup, getting dressed earlier, and being ready for that earlier time. They say sometimes, and I don't get this either, they say, that means you have to have an earlier start time for your ceremony, which makes no sense whatsoever. That would not affect, in my opinion, your start time for anything. So just being, conscious that you have to do things earlier, the hair and makeup and getting dressed earlier. That's really the only thing that's affected there. And that could be a con, maybe, because if you're having an earlier wedding, you don't want to wake up that early to get things ready. So something to consider.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Sal. If you're having an 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning wedding, it means, yes, you might have to get up 3, 4 in the morning and get yourself ready, because those first look shots are going to have to be done pretty early. So yes, absolutely figure into your planning that early start time, because it may be a factor that you may not want to do a first look that early in the morning. So we've just explained the pros and cons of having a first look. Coming up next, the pros and cons of not having a first look.
This is the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Podcast with Sal and Sam, a podcast for engaged couples concerned about wedding planning and family expectations, but who want to have a stress-free, fun, and unforgettable wedding.
Here's another Wedding Tip Wednesday. Different bridesmaids' gowns. What does that mean? Well, stop making the girls wear the same bridesmaids' gowns. I love it when I see a wedding party with different shades of the same color. Yeah, going for the same color is important, but if you can have different shades of that color, even better. Stop forcing the ladies to wear something that is not flattering to their body and they just don't like. Remember, everybody deserves to look and feel beautiful on your wedding day.
Keep in mind, not all the girls feel comfortable with spaghetti straps. They don't want the thing where there is no straps at all. And it doesn't fit their body type. Make sure it's something that's comfortable to each individual, and they're going to look their best and they're going to feel great at your wedding. That's another tip from Sal and Sam.
Wedding Tip Wednesday is available on the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Facebook group page every Wednesday. Join the group for free.
Welcome back to our discussion, the big wedding question: first look or aisle reveal? Hi, I'm Sal from After Hours Events New England, the leader in making your wedding stress-free. Visit us on the web at afterhoursevents.com.
Hi, I'm Sam from the award-winning Atmosphere Productions, wedding entertainment with expert knowledge and the difference in quality. Visit us at atmosphere-productions.com. So we've gone over the pros and cons of having the first look. Now it's time for us to give you the pros and cons of not having the first look. Let's start with the pros first. Your total experience. Many couples cherish that traditional moment of first seeing each other as they walk down the aisle or your spouse walks down the aisle. And that can be incredibly emotional. I know when I got married, to see my wife in that dress that I'd been anticipating for the last 8 or 9 months that she'd been talking about, and actually seen her, it was fantastic. I'm not sure I would have had the same experience if I'd had a first look. But that's what you have to decide. Are you an emotional person? Are you somebody that's going to appreciate the impact of seeing the aisle reveal, as they call it? That's something that you have to decide.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's to each his own. It's what works best for you ultimately. So I know I pushed the first look pretty hard, but it really has to be what feels right and what's the right emotion for you. So another pro is the build-up, the anticipation. Not seeing each other before the ceremony can build excitement and anticipation, making the moment even more special. For some people, that moment down the aisle is just everything in the world, and love just oozes out. And sometimes they can't even start the ceremony right now. They need a moment to themselves to look at each other and say hi before the officiant really starts. It could be a grand moment.
I can't tell you the amount of times, and I'm sure with you too, Sal, because you're an officiant, that I've done a ceremony and the groom is just a bowl of tears as he sees his bride coming down the aisle. And it can be the same way too for the bride who's walking down the aisle. She can ball up in a big bubble of tears. Really, that buildup of anticipation is something else. But also, one of the pros of not having a first look is preserving that ceremony focus. If it's something that you think is going to be the centerpiece of your day, is that ceremony where everybody's going to see you walk down the aisle with the dress or a suit or whoever your partner is going to be without any distractions or activities beforehand, then you're the sort of person that has to have the aisle reveal. A first look is definitely not for you.
So now we need to talk about the cons, because with every pro, there's always a con. And one of the cons is the time crunch. So if you have a 6 o'clock start for your ceremony, everything ends at 6:30. The very next thing you're doing is going to take pictures. Now you have cocktail hour going from 6:30 to 7:30. You have to try to fit everything within that hour, which can be very difficult. And now you have to go, we have to do introductions and first dance that follows after 7 o'clock now. But there's other things that could cause problems. And I got to tell you, we've talked about it before, and it's called the bustle. If you have any problems with your bustle, it can really throw your timing off even more. So it's why I like the first look. You take care of everything ahead of time after the ceremony. You put up the bustle. If it takes a little long, doesn't hurt anything. And then you get to enjoy the cocktail hour. So that's me going back to the first look. I love it. I'm sorry.
We can't dissuade you at all, can we?
No, you cannot. I think it is the ultimate thing that ever was created for a wedding, because there's just so many pros to it. It's just a very helpful thing. And to give you an idea, I had a couple who didn't do the first look. They decided to go with what's called traditional. So they had their ceremony, they went to pictures, and then they went into their suite to get bustled up so they could hurry up and get in line for introductions right after. And what happened? The bustle was not helping her. She took 40 minutes with her bustle before we got to introduce her. That threw the wedding off quite a bit. So there's just these little things you have to think about that could kind of put a monkey wrench into it all, where the first look would have controlled that situation a lot better.
Good point. So another con in not having the first look is it heightens nerves. Some couples may feel a little bit more anxious than others. They're not seeing each other until the ceremony. In our modern world that we have today, a lot of couples live with each other, so they see each other all the time. Sometimes they work at home too, so it's 24/7. So spending that night before and the day before not seeing each other could bring some anxiety before the ceremony, and it could definitely affect the enjoyment of the whole event. So that's something to really pay attention, whether your nerves are going to be heightened because you're not seeing each other.
And I totally agree with the nerve thing. Even now, we've been married for 16 years. If we're gone for so many hours from each other, for some reason, my nerves go up because I'm not seeing her and she's not there. So that could be like that for the wedding. The nerves just start bundling up because you need to be together. So that's something else to consider. Another thing, like we're saying, less time together. Without the first look, you're spending less time with each other. And that's time you may ultimately need. So something to consider when you make your decision. As we said, ultimately, the decision should reflect your personal preferences and the tone you want to set for your wedding day. It's important to discuss these options and consider what feels meaningful and comfortable for you both.
So there you have it. We just provided you some insider tips on the big wedding question, the first look or aisle reveal. Remember that the decision to have a first look or not should reflect what feels right for you. As we said, Sal loves to have the first look. I'm 50-50, but it's up to you whether you choose tradition or opt for a more modern approach, then the most important thing is that your day is filled with love and memorable moments.
Now, as you spend the next week planning your wedding, if you want me, Sam, or our community of stress-free engaged couples and wedding experts to answer any wedding-related questions, join us over in the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Facebook group.
Once you're in, go ahead and share your concerns and worries, and we'll let you know if you're on the right track or if there's something we need to work on. The link to join us is in the show notes of this edition. Or go to Facebook and search for the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Community.
A new edition is released every Wednesday. Subscribe and get it first. Remember to do something nice for someone today. And if you can't, do something nice for yourself. We'll catch you then. Ciao.
Thank you for listening to this edition. If you've enjoyed what you've just heard, leave a review and share it with a friend or someone who would benefit from this information. Until next time, it's TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
The Stress-Free Wedding Planning Podcast is produced and copyrighted by Atmosphere Productions in association with After Hours Events of New England.